The Galactic Empire had long ruled the galaxy with an iron fist, conquering, controlling, and exploiting countless worlds. Earth, a small and seemingly insignificant planet, had long been dismissed as a mere backwater, unworthy of the Empire's attention. For centuries, the galaxy had been blind to humanity's potential, and this ignorance became the Empire's greatest mistake. The Empire's leaders believed their dominance was unchallenged, their technology unbeatable, and their military might unstoppable. Little did they know, Earth had been secretly forging its own path, quietly advancing in ways the Empire could never imagine. On Earth, a covert program had been underway for decades, fueled by the relentless drive of a species determined to protect its future. Humanity had silently mastered technologies once thought impossible, cloaking fields, energy-based weapons, and even the manipulation of gravitational forces. The human fleet, kept hidden in the outer reaches of the solar system, was far more advanced than anything the Empire had ever encountered. It wasn't just a fleet of warships, it was the culmination of Earth's collective will to survive. When the fleet finally emerged from the depths of space, the Empire was caught off guard. Their sensors, sophisticated and vast, failed to detect the human ships as they approached. At first, they thought it was a trick, a glitch in their system. But as the ships entered orbit around a key Empire planet, their disbelief turned to panic. These ships were sleek, elegant, and deadly. They moved with precision, with a military discipline the Empire hadn't seen in millennia. The Empire, convinced of its superiority, underestimated Earth's potential. Now, the consequences of that arrogance were unfolding before them. The human fleet wasted no time. With incredible speed, they disabled the Empire's defense systems, taking control of key military outposts and strategically important planets. The Empire's most elite forces scrambled to respond, but their attacks were futile. The human ships were impervious to their weapons, their shields deflecting blasts with ease. The Empire's most advanced technologies, once thought infallible, were rendered useless. Humanity had not only developed new technologies, but had also mastered the art of warfare itself. No longer were they the underdog, they were the apex predator. The Empire's military leaders were baffled. How could this happen? How could a primitive species like Earth, which they had dismissed as irrelevant, possess technology so advanced? They sent their most formidable warships to the front lines, but the humans were always one step ahead. With each attack, the Empire's fleet was outmaneuvered and outsmarted. They couldn't comprehend the way humanity fought, it was unlike anything they had seen before. Humanity's tactical brilliance was clear, they used their technology in ways that made no sense, turning their enemies' strengths into weaknesses. But the true shock came when the humans revealed their ultimate weapon. As the Empire launched a final, all-out assault to crush humanity's fleet, they were met with something they could never have anticipated. Humanity's ships activated a technology that manipulated time itself. Entire divisions of the Empire's fleet were frozen in a moment, trapped in temporal stasis. The sheer power of the human weapon was enough to shake the Empire to its core. Time was no longer an ally to the Empire, it had become their enemy. Their strongest ships, their most advanced technologies, were powerless against this new force. The Empire's greatest weapon, its unshakable belief in its own superiority, had been destroyed. The Empire's leaders were forced to face an uncomfortable truth: they had underestimated humanity. The power of Earth's fleet was not just in their weapons, but in their resolve, their ingenuity, and their adaptability. Humanity had not only survived, they had thrived, evolving in ways the Empire had never considered. The true weapon was not the advanced ships or the technology, it was the human spirit. The Empire, once all-powerful, now found itself facing a reality it couldn't control. As the Empire retreated, broken and humbled, humanity stood victorious. But they did not seek revenge. They did not want to conquer. They had one goal: to end the cycle of oppression and violence that had plagued the galaxy for so long. Humanity offered a new way forward, a future based on cooperation and mutual respect. The Empire's leaders, forced to reckon with their past mistakes, now had a choice: they could either change their ways or face extinction. The galaxy had entered a new era, one in which humanity would no longer be a footnote in the Empire's history, but its greatest force for change. The human fleet's arrival was unlike anything the Galactic Empire had ever faced. What initially appeared to be a minor anomaly turned into the most significant event the Empire had encountered in centuries. The Empire's intelligence network failed to detect the fleet until it was too late, and by the time they reacted, it was already in orbit around one of their most vital systems. Panic spread through the Imperial command centers as they scrambled to identify the origin of the fleet. They had dismissed Earth as a planet of no consequence, but now they were faced with a force far beyond anything they had anticipated. The human fleet appeared suddenly, emerging from the darkness of space like a predator closing in on its prey. Their ships were unlike any design the Empire had ever seen, sleek, silent, and remarkably efficient. The Empire's advanced sensors couldn't make sense of the human fleet's movements. The ships did not adhere to known flight patterns. Their trajectories were unpredictable, and they seemed to avoid all attempts to lock onto them with tracking systems. To the Empire, it was as if they had entered an entirely different realm of warfare. The Empire, with all its technological superiority, was in the dark about what was happening. The initial response was swift. Several fleets were sent to confront the humans. The Empire had always relied on overwhelming force, trusting their superior firepower to crush any opposition. Their ships were massive, their weaponry powerful, and their tactics well-honed over millennia of conquest. But the human fleet outclassed them in ways they could not comprehend. As the first wave of Imperial ships engaged the humans, they were met with precision strikes and strategic moves that completely disrupted the Empire's formation. The human ships were agile and fast, able to reposition with an ease that rendered the Empire's heavy-hitting ships slow and vulnerable. One after another, the Empire's best commanders found themselves outsmarted. The humans didn't just destroy their enemies, they dismantled them. Shield generators were disabled with pinpoint accuracy, weapons systems neutralized before they could even fire. The Empire's soldiers and commanders could not react quickly enough, unable to grasp the tactics the humans were employing. Their fleet, once considered invincible, was crumbling before them. The Empire's confidence in its own technological dominance quickly shifted to fear. The human fleet was not only technologically advanced, it was also tactically superior. The humans didn't just rely on brute force, they used their intelligence and unpredictability to break down their enemies. It was a style of combat the Empire had never encountered, a method that disregarded tradition and favored adaptability over sheer firepower. But the true shock came when the humans revealed their most advanced weapon. The Empire had long prided itself on its weapons of mass destruction, but nothing prepared them for the power humanity wielded. At first, it was just a small, almost unnoticeable disruption in the battle. Then, the Empire's fleet began to malfunction, ships suddenly stopped moving, their systems frozen in place. The human ships had activated a technology that manipulated the fabric of space itself, causing time to bend and warp around key Imperial vessels. The Empire's greatest asset, their advanced fleets and weapons, were now useless. The Empire's forces found themselves unable to act, their ships trapped in a stasis field they could not escape. The revelation of this new weapon sent shockwaves through the Empire. The humans had not only mastered technology far beyond the Empire's own, they had gained control over the very concept of time. The Empire's commanders, once confident in their ability to overcome any threat, now understood they were up against an enemy whose capabilities defied every expectation. The humans were no longer just a threat, they were a force of nature, something that the Empire could not fight with sheer military might alone. In desperation, the Empire scrambled to launch their ultimate counterattack, deploying their largest fleet and their most powerful weapons. Yet, even as the Empire's forces regrouped and prepared for one final, massive assault, they realized that their strength meant little against the humans' superior tactics and technologies. Every effort to strike back was thwarted, and with each failed attack, the Empire's forces grew more disorganized, more fractured. The once invincible Empire, built on conquest and fear, now faced a reality they could not escape. The humans had proven that they could not be defeated through brute force alone, they had outsmarted the Empire at every turn, and now they held the upper hand. The balance of power had shifted. The Empire, which had once ruled with absolute control, now found itself caught in a fight for survival against a species it had long dismissed as weak. The realization set in: the Empire was no longer the predator, it was the prey. The Empire's response to humanity's unexpected power was one of panic and confusion. They had underestimated Earth's potential, and now they were paying the price. Their once mighty fleets were disintegrating under the relentless assault of human ingenuity. Imperial commanders who had been heralded as the best in the galaxy were now struggling to keep up with an opponent that defied every expectation. What had been a confident, dominant force was now stumbling in the face of overwhelming adversity. The Empire's military hierarchy began to fracture as commanders and officials tried to make sense of their situation. In the wake of their disastrous attempts to strike back, the Empire's most powerful leaders called for an emergency council, trying to formulate a plan. They understood that brute force alone would not be enough. Their weapons, once considered the pinnacle of galactic power, were ineffective against the human fleet's advanced technology. The Empire's strength lay in numbers, in sheer might, but humanity had proven that strategy and adaptability could topple even the most powerful forces. The Empire's advanced technology, once their greatest asset, now felt like a liability. Every weapon they fired seemed to be countered effortlessly, every tactic foiled by human ingenuity. Their greatest generals and tacticians were losing the ability to anticipate what humanity would do next. Amid this chaos, the humans revealed their final trump card, an unknown, incomprehensible technology that shook the foundations of everything the Empire believed. As the Empire's last-ditch effort to regain control began, humanity unleashed a weapon that manipulated time itself. The sheer scale of its impact was beyond anything the Empire could have prepared for. Entire divisions of their fleets found themselves frozen, their ships suspended in temporal stasis, unable to move, unable to act. The Empire's greatest strength, their speed and firepower, was rendered meaningless by the flickering of time. For the first time in millennia, the Empire's vaunted superiority was eclipsed by a force they could not comprehend or counter. The situation quickly became untenable for the Empire. The leaders of the once mighty galactic force now found themselves on the defensive. They had always seen themselves as the inevitable victors, but now they were confronted by an enemy who had rendered all their tactics, all their weapons, obsolete. The Empire's grand strategy had been to dominate, to crush all who opposed them with overwhelming force. But humanity had shown them the greatest weakness of all, the power to outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast. The idea of raw power, once so intoxicating, now seemed hollow in the face of humanity's unexpected brilliance. The Empire's response was fractured and desperate. They attempted to retreat, to regroup, but every movement was countered. Their ships, their commanders, their strategies, nothing seemed to work. For the first time in their history, the Empire had met an enemy that could outsmart them at every turn. The realization of their situation was like a slow, crushing weight. The once proud Empire, which had dominated the galaxy through fear and overwhelming force, was now on the brink of collapse, its most powerful fleets neutralized by an enemy they had dismissed as inconsequential. The Empire's leaders were forced to confront the reality they had long denied: the galaxy had changed. Humanity, which they had thought weak and insignificant, had risen to challenge them, and they were not going to back down. In their desperate attempts to hold on to their crumbling empire, they were faced with the undeniable truth that they could not win. The humans had proven themselves to be something far greater than they had ever imagined, not just technologically advanced, but fundamentally different in their approach to conflict. Their ingenuity, their adaptability, their will to fight for survival, it was all far beyond what the Empire had anticipated. And then, as the final blow loomed, humanity delivered a message to the Empire. They were not here to conquer or destroy for the sake of destruction, they were here to end the cycle of oppression and violence that had plagued the galaxy for eons. Humanity's weapon was not just their technology, but their resolve to bring an end to the Empire's reign of terror. The Empire, broken and desperate, now faced a choice: to continue their war, to resist humanity's challenge, and face total annihilation, or to surrender, to negotiate a new future and accept the changes humanity had brought to the galaxy. In the final moments, as the last Imperial fleets disintegrated under the weight of humanity's relentless advance, the Empire's leaders saw the true nature of their enemy. The humans had not simply won by force, they had won by making the Empire confront its own mistakes, its own hubris. They had forced the Empire to face its past and understand that true power did not lie in domination or destruction, but in the ability to change, to adapt, and to grow. The Empire, now shattered, was left with no choice but to acknowledge that their time had passed. The future belonged to humanity. The last remnants of the Galactic Empire had no choice but to surrender. Their once invincible military had been dismantled, their best commanders outmaneuvered at every turn. For the first time in millennia, the Empire faced the reality that their reign was over. Earth, a planet they had dismissed as weak and insignificant, had turned the tide of the war and proved that the galaxy was no longer their domain. Humanity had not only shown their superiority in technology but had also demonstrated a level of strategic genius that the Empire could not comprehend. The Empire's overwhelming force had been met with precision, innovation, and an unyielding will to survive. As the last Imperial forces fell back, humanity made its intentions clear. There was no desire for conquest, no need for revenge. Humanity was not interested in ruling the galaxy or subjugating its people. Instead, they presented a vision for the future, one built on cooperation and mutual respect, not fear and domination. The humans had proven that they could destroy the Empire, but they now sought something much greater, a galaxy in which all species could coexist in peace. The message was clear: humanity would no longer be a silent observer in the galaxy, they would shape its future. The Empire's leaders, once so confident in their unchallenged power, now found themselves faced with a stark choice. They could either continue their fight, clinging to a dying dream of galactic dominance, or they could admit defeat and open the door to a new era. In their final moments of power, they realized that the Empire had become nothing more than a shadow of its former self. It had been corrupted by its own arrogance, by the belief that no one could stand against it. The Empire had not been toppled by force alone, but by the force of a new idea, one that the Empire could never have anticipated. Humanity had not just defeated the Empire on the battlefield. They had won the war of ideas. They had shown that survival was not about sheer power, but about the ability to adapt, to think differently, to innovate. The Empire's greatest weapons, its fleets, its armies, its technology, had been rendered irrelevant in the face of a new approach to conflict. The humans had won because they understood the most important lesson of all: power without wisdom leads to destruction. Humanity had proven that the true strength of a species lies not in its ability to dominate, but in its ability to evolve and change. As the Empire's final strongholds crumbled, the galaxy watched in awe. Species that had long been oppressed by the Empire now turned their eyes to humanity, seeing them not as conquerors, but as liberators. The Empire's grip on the galaxy was slipping, and in its place, a new order was emerging, one in which humanity would lead, not through fear, but through the strength of their ideals. The Empire's fall was not just a victory for Earth, it was a victory for every species that had suffered under its rule. The Galactic Empire, once the pinnacle of power, was now a thing of the past. In its place stood a galaxy on the brink of a new beginning, one where humanity would help guide the stars into a future of peace and cooperation. The humans had shown the galaxy that they were not just survivors, but leaders. They had proven that they were capable of shaping the future, not through destruction, but through unity. As the last remnants of the Empire were dismantled, humanity's message rang out across the galaxy: this was only the beginning. The future was theirs to shape, and they would not let anyone forget it. The Empire's final defense was crumbling. What had once been a symbol of invincibility now lay in ruins, its fleets scattered and its leaders in hiding. Humanity had achieved what was once thought impossible: the destruction of the Galactic Empire. But their victory was not simply a result of superior firepower or advanced technology, it was a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of a species that refused to bow down to oppression. The war was over, but the battle for the galaxy's future had only just begun. Humanity, despite its triumph, did not celebrate in the way the Empire had expected. There was no sense of vengeance or desire for domination. Instead, the humans gathered their forces, focused on restoring balance to the galaxy. They were not conquerors, they were peacekeepers, determined to undo the damage the Empire had wrought over the centuries. The galaxy had been torn apart by conflict, and humanity had seen firsthand the cost of that destruction. They knew that true victory did not lie in the conquest of worlds, but in the ability to bring people together, to rebuild what had been broken. The remnants of the Empire were left with no choice but to accept humanity's terms. Their fleets were gone, their power shattered. The once mighty leaders, now humbled, found themselves negotiating with the very species they had sought to dominate. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but the Empire had no other option. The humans had not just defeated them on the battlefield, they had broken the very foundation of the Empire's rule. The Galactic Empire had relied on fear, on the belief that no one could challenge them. But humanity had shown them that there was more to power than dominance. The Empire's leaders were forced to recognize this new reality. The age of conquest was over, and the future of the galaxy would be shaped by those willing to work together. As the Empire's final defenses fell, the galaxy shifted. The fear that had once gripped countless worlds began to recede, replaced by hope. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy was free from the iron fist of the Empire. Humanity had become the symbol of that freedom, not through their destruction of the Empire, but through their willingness to offer a different path. They extended their hand to the oppressed species that had long suffered under the Empire's rule, inviting them to join a new era of cooperation and peace. The message was clear: unity, not domination, would shape the galaxy's future. The leaders of the Empire, their power broken, had no choice but to accept humanity's offer. It was a difficult concession, but one they could not escape. The galaxy had changed. No longer would power be measured by fleets and armies, by the strength of weapons or the might of rulers. The true strength of a species would now be determined by its ability to adapt, to grow, and to unite. Humanity had proven that they understood this fundamental truth, and they were determined to lead the galaxy into a new era. In the aftermath of the Empire's fall, the galaxy began to rebuild. The scars left by centuries of oppression were deep, but humanity, with its newfound leadership, worked tirelessly to heal those wounds. They understood that true change would not come overnight. It would take time, effort, and cooperation to rebuild the trust that had been shattered by the Empire. But humanity was committed to this task. They had already proven their strength by defeating the Empire, now they would prove their strength by guiding the galaxy toward a future of peace. As the Empire's remnants faded into history, humanity stood at the helm of a new galactic order. Their victory had not been a conquest, but a promise, the promise of a better future for all species, one built on mutual respect, cooperation, and shared goals. The Galactic Empire had fallen, but the hope it had once crushed now began to flourish. The future of the galaxy was no longer in the hands of tyrants, but in the hands of those who were willing to work together for the greater good. Humanity had shown the galaxy that it was not the power of weapons that would determine the future, but the power of unity.